We have been hearing about NATO since the Ukraine-Russia war started. I asked a 13-year-old, what is NATO? He said it's an organization created by the good countries after the World War II to make sure World War III doesn't happen. He wasn't wrong, but there is much more than that. So let's look at that in today's video. NATO is an acronym for North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It is a military alliance between the countries in North America and Europe. NATO was formed after the World War II and the onset of Cold War to preserve peace in Europe and protect democratic nations from potential attack by the communist Soviet Union. The treaty set out collective defense, meaning an attack against one member is considered an attack against all of them. With this definition, you may wonder why NATO is not stepping in to help Ukraine directly. Because Ukraine is a European country and attacked by a communist power, which is Russia, right? The simple answer is Ukraine is not a member of NATO yet. This brings us to even more questions. Who are the NATO members and how they came together? NATO was formed on April 4, 1949. The 12 founding members, Belgium, Canada, Denmark, France, Iceland, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, the United Kingdom and the United States all met in Washington DC to sign the agreement. NATO was a new organization and it was pretty much on paper when the Korean War started. NATO members under the United Nations banner helped South Korea to fight against North Korea, which was backed by Communist Russia and China. The Korean War led NATO to develop military structure, including formation of Supreme Headquarters Allied Powers Europe, SHAPE, in 1951. They posted a Secretary General of NATO and started military exercises with Allied forces. In 1952, two countries, Greece and Turkey, joined NATO. After the London-Paris conferences to determine West Germany's status, Paris Accord was signed to give West Germany some sovereignty, and this led West Germany to join NATO in 1955. West Germany joining the NATO put Soviet Union at a defense position. So Soviet Union and 7 other Eastern Bloc nations, Albania, Poland, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, East Germany, Hungary and Romania signed the Warsaw Pact, delineating the two opposing sides of the Cold War. Building of the Berlin Wall in 1961 was a significant point in the Cold War. Concern about NATO's strength, credibility and the relationship between European countries and the United States all increased, particularly after United States of America refused to integrate France's nuclear deterrent with NATO. France withdrew from NATO in 1966. In 1982, Spain joined NATO. In 1990, the Allies signed a Treaty of Conventional Armed Forces in Europe with Soviet Union, mandating military reduction from both sides across the continent. Following the year, communism collapsed and the Warsaw Pact ended, but the treaty lived on. With communism in Europe almost ending, it seems like there is no need for NATO. But the cooperation between the allies was too good to pass up. So NATO extended its reach to include political and humanitarian crises. These weren't the original goal, but they added them on. During the breakup of Yugoslavia, NATO conducted its first military intervention. After the USSR collapsed, NATO wanted to build a better relationship with newly autonomous Central and Eastern European countries and set up a Partnership for Peace program. We will look at the members of this program little later in the video. At the 1999 Washington Summit, Czech Republic, Hungary and Poland officially joined NATO and celebrated the 50 years of NATO. NATO grew even bigger in 2004 when Bulgaria, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Romania, Slovakia and Slovenia all joined NATO. Then in 2009, Albania and Croatia came on board to NATO. Montenegro joined in 2017, followed by the last country, North Macedonia, in 2020. Remember I mentioned France left NATO? Yes, they left the military alliance. In 2007, France military was reformed and became a full member of the NATO again in 2009. Currently, NATO has 30 members. As you can see, beside United States of America and Canada, all the other members are from Europe. After the 9/11 attack, for the first time ever, Article 5 of the NATO Treaty was invoked. This article requires member state to come to an aid of any member state subject to armed attack. NATO troops were sent to Afghanistan and the war of Afghanistan began. NATO was created pretty much as a tool to fight against Soviet attacks. But NATO's military wasn't involved in any war during the Cold War. So far, NATO has been involved in various capacities, including peacekeeping in many conflicts, including Bosnian War, Kosovo intervention, Iraq training mission, Gulf of Aden anti-piracy, and Libya intervention, to name a few. After the Cold War, the purpose of the NATO was gone, but NATO transformed into almost like a world power of military alliance, right? And they helped in many countries, whether they are NATO members or not, in different capacities, not directly involved in the war, but training and supplying material and so on. So, what is the future plan for NATO? Who else could become a NATO member? Can any country join a NATO? According to NATO, the membership is open to any European country interested in NATO's principles and would like to contribute to the security of North Atlantic area. NATO has a list of aspiring members which include Bosnia, Georgia, Macedonia and Ukraine. Even though the NATO membership is only open to European countries, NATO is expanding. It's established enhanced opportunity partnership with Australia, Finland, Georgia, Jordan, Sweden and Ukraine. You can see already Australia is part of that program, so it's reaching far beyond North America and Europe. So as the Istanbul Cooperation Initiative, it includes Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, United Arab Emirates. The Partnership for Peace program I mentioned before is a notable NATO program. The program's goal is to build a trust between the NATO countries and the non-member European countries. Membership for the Partnership for Peace program include 20 countries. In 1994, Armenia, Azerbaijan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Finland, Georgia, Moldova, Russia, Sweden, Switzerland, Turkmenistan, Ukraine and Uzbekistan joined the peace program. In 1995, Austria, Belarus joined the program. In 1999, Ireland. In 2002, Tajikistan. In 2006, Bosnia. Serbia joined in 2008, so as Malta. Are you surprised to see Russia on the list? Russia's commitment to peace is questionable, and there is an increased desire to review Russia's membership after the invasion of Georgia in 2008, Crimea in 2014, and now Ukraine in 2022. NATO has taken a place as a world police. The UN Security Council should be doing some of the NATO's job, but NATO is better equipped to handle this task. But NATO is in better position to tackle these issues and sometime work with UN Security Council. Let me know if you have any more question about NATO. I'll do my best to clear it up for you. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider subscribing. I hate asking, but it would help me a lot. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, or better yet, please put a comment about what you think about this video. Thank you.